seed Washington Capitals taking on the number 8 seed New York Rangers. The number 2 seed Philadelphia Flyers taking on the number 7 seed Buffalo Sabres. Number 3 seed Boston Bruins taking on the number 4 seed Montreal Canadiens. And the number 4 seed Pittsburgh Penguins taking on the number 5 seed Tampa Bay Lightning. In the West, we have the number 1 seed Vancouver Canucks taking on the number 8 seed Chicago Blackhawks. The number 2 seed San Jose Sharks taking on the number 7 seed Los Angeles Kings. Number 3 seed Detroit Red Wings taking on the number 6 seed Phoenix Coyotes. And the number 4 seed Anaheim Ducks taking on the number 5 seed Nashville Predators. Let's move on. Alright, going into the playoffs, we have our top stories. We got a lot of injuries to speak of. Let's dive right in. Sidney Crosby for the Pittsburgh Penguins. He hasn't skated for a few days because he's been on a break. He's been skating a lot. He could be back for the playoffs, depending on how far the Penguins get. He's been out with a concussion since the Tampa Bay game, and before then, the Winter Classic. He's not the only guy out for the Penguins, though. We have Matt Cook, who's serving another suspension. Yes, another suspension for Matt Cook. What's new? Moving on, we're on the injury front. We have Henrik Zetterberg for the Detroit Red Wings. He got injured a week before the playoffs, and he may be back, depending on how far they get, but he will not be starting in the playoffs. We have Anze Kopitar for the Los Angeles Kings. He's questionable. He could be back, then again he couldn't. His ankle did not take a nice fall. Moving on to Ryan Callahan for the New York Rangers. He's one of their top 2 guys, and if he's not in versus the Capitals and their dominant goaltending, how far can the Rangers get, even with Lundqvist in net? Moving on, we have the Flyers, speaking of goaltending. They've had an interesting situation there. Bobrovsky, the rookie, who is a Calder finalist. He could get it, but with his last few games, who knows? They got Michael Leighton, who they've called up. He's last year's playoff hero. How far can he get him if Bobrovsky is unable to do it? They still have Brian Boucher, who's been pretty good, pretty consistent, but will he be the starter? Then we move on to the Capitals, another goaltending situation. What do you got?
A three-headed monster they haven't watched in the goaltending. They have Neuberg, who's the top guy right now. Wallman's the backup, and hopefully Darren Hershey can call up in case something happens with him. Neuberg's been the guy the whole season. He's the main starter. He's earned it. 14 for 14 in playoff series in North America, back-to-back Calder Cup champions in Hershey. Wallman's been in the playoffs the last 2 years. Backup Theodore came in both times. Led the Caps past the Rangers first time. Can you do it again? I don't think he had a chance to. So Neuberg's the guy.
You got started on the Caps. Now let's finish with the Caps. Mike Green, top defenseman. What's up with that?
He's been out for a pair of head injuries. One shot a pick to the head and step in blindside hit to the head. He isn't skating since February 25th. He's skating since but hasn't played since February 25th against the Rangers. He's been skating every day now, complete for 3 weeks.
Those are our top stories going into the playoffs. Now let's get on to our players to watch.
So last season, the Capitals will seek revenge after a playoff upset to the Canadiens against the Rangers, another number 8 seed. But the Rangers have outscored the Capitals 15-1 in the last 3 games of this season that they played against each other. Look for Alex Simon to step up this season. He scored 0 goals in his last 14 playoff games. He's a big guy for the Capitals who can step up, I think, with the help of new Jason Arnaz in acquisition of the Capitals.
Each player to watch.
Player to watch, Alex
Simon. Player to watch. That's the Capitals side. Now for the Rangers side. We have, as I said earlier, Ryan Callahan, heart and soul of the New York Rangers. He's out with an injury. And you got Marion Gabbert, who's been waiting in the water, trying to get his time to shine. This is your time, Marion Gabbert. You got to step up. You got to score goals. Speaking of stepping up, you got Henrik Lundqvist, who's been stellar. He's had to start their last 26 games because their backup, Martin Biron, he went out with a collarbone injury. So those are your stories for this lineup. Moving on. In our next series, we have the number 2 seed Philadelphia Flyers taking on the number 7 seed Buffalo Sabres. These are 2 teams going in totally different directions. Why is that?
Well, yeah, the Sabres have gone 16-4-4 in the last 24 games, while the Flyers, on the other hand, have gone 7-7-6 in the last 20. The Flyers have been falsely going down 2nd seed in the East while they were at first most of the season.
Flyers are one of the deepest teams. They have at least 8 forwards with at least 19 goals. That is a lot of depth. Can they get far? We'll see on an experience standpoint because O'Donnell and Boynton are 2 cup-winning defensemen for the Flyers. Will that experience falter into results? We'll find out later because goaltending situation, we have both goalies touting the 2.59 in goals against average. But are they our players to watch?
Miller, yes, but for the Flyers, Danny Briere is a player to watch. He's a major impact on the Flyers Stanley Cup run last year. Fortunately, they didn't get to the Cup, but he's a major impact on that team.
Flyers got far last year with Beer on the team. Can they do it for a second year in a row?
And also, he's an ex-Sabre looking to restore his old team.
That's true. Our next series features the 3rd seed Boston Bruins renewing their original 6 rivalry with the 6th seed Montreal Canadiens. This is the only original 6 rivalry taking place in the entire playoffs. The last time these two played, the last 2 times actually, was a brawl that just took place, and a lot of bad blood between these two. They do not like each other. And the final time they faced each other, they were shut out, the Montreal Canadiens, by a big margin. And before then, Max Pacioretty, hit by Char, and suffered a fractured vertebrae and a concussion. So there's a lot of bad blood. We got our rookie, Tyler Seguin, who was questionable to even be in. He's been finding his way on the bench, or not even on the bench in the press box, because he hasn't been getting into the lineup, and it's very questionable whether he even be in the playoffs. Then we move on to our goaltending duel.
This series will be a goaltending duel between Tim Thomas, Vezina candidate, and Carey Price, MVP for the Canadiens. Look for these two to steal a series. They can steal a series. Look for them to steal one game at home on the road. They can be the major factor, turning factor in this series.
So our players to watch, obviously we got to go Tim Thomas.
Tim Thomas.
For the Boston Bruins, we got Tim Thomas, and for the Montreal Canadiens, I'm going to go ahead and say Mike Camilleri, because he's been great in the playoffs previous years.
I'm going to say Carey Price in that one, because he's been the Canadiens MVP all year, and he can steal a game for them.
Boston Bruins, Montreal Canadiens. Our next series features the 4th seed Pittsburgh Penguins taking on the 5th seed Tampa Bay Lightning in the first meeting for these two franchises' playoff history. Starting off, we got with Sidney Crosby being out, Chris Kunitz and Tyler Kenny have been stepping up big time, carrying all of the offense. And we have Jordan Staal, who literally missed half the season. He's setting career highs in points, so that shows he's a pressure player. When he's on, he's ready to go.
Lightning are powered by 10 double-digit goal scorers this season, and top 8 in the league with 2.94 goals per game.
These guys can score goals, but can they get them behind Marc-Andre Fleury? Though he started the season a 1-3 and a miserable .853 save percentage, since November he's turned it on and he's been a top heart candidate. And for the team, he's already been voted the MVP. Can he get it going? Can he stop the pucks? Our players of the game? For the Penguins, we've got to go Marc-Andre Fleury.
I agree there. And for the Lightning, I'm saying Stanley Cup. He's been MVP all season. He's helped Stamkos out tremendously, getting his 45-goal season. Almost 50, but Stamkos kind of faltered at the end of the season, but the big letdown, I think, could be injury. Find out later. But St. Louis is the guy to watch for me.
I'm going to go a slightly different route, but via St. Louis, I'm going to say Steven Stamkos is the player to watch for the Tampa Bay Lightning, but only due to what Stamkos is received from St. Louis. Can he get him to that left wing circle fast enough? Or will the Penguins' defense, which has been tops in the league, can they stop it?
So on the West, we have number 1 Vancouver against number 8 Chicago. Vancouver and Chicago have played the last 2 seasons in the playoffs. Chicago has won both those series, going to the Stanley Cup winning it. Who are your players watching the series?
My players to watch for Vancouver, we're going to have to go with Kessler and Sedins. They're one player, so you got to put them both in. And for Chicago, I'm going to say Taves and Sharp, because Taves has been getting some considerations for league MVP, and Sharp leads the team in goals, so might as well throw them in there too. They're a good tandem, same line.
I agree with that. The Sharks and Kings set by California grudge match in this series. This is the first time all 3 teams in California have been in the Stanley Cup playoffs together. Who are your players to watch?
My players to watch for San Jose, I have to go Logan Couture, a possible Rookie of the Year candidate. And it's a pretty valuable opponent. What do you got?
I'm saying for the Sharks, Joe Pavelski. He was a big playoff guy last year. They call him Little Joe. He's been their guy last year in the playoffs, but they had a hard time last playoffs. They choked. We'll see what happens this year. For the Kings, I got Drew Doughty, the best defenseman in their team.
I went with Dustin Brown, the captain. Good guy. A lot of goals. Who gets it done? That's that for you.
Third matchup, we have Detroit, number 3 versus Phoenix, number 6. Detroit-Phoenix produced one of the most entertaining series last year in the playoffs. Detroit almost got knocked out by the Coyotes, but they managed to come through. They won that series. Went on to the next.
Player to watch. Who you got?
I got Datsuk for the Red Wings. Datsuki and Magic. And Vizgalov, he's the big guy there. Totally. He can steal the game.
Those are our players to watch for that series.
Next we have Anaheim, number 4 international, number 5. Corey Perry has been great the last stretch run of the season. Won like a Richard Trophy.
That's why he's my player to watch.
Me too. And for the Predators, Pecorine.
Pecorine. He was, and still is, the possible Vezina candidate. So you got to have him as a player to watch for that team.
Now it's time for predictions. Caps Rangers. I have Caps in 5.
I put the Washington Capitals in 6 games.
Alright. Now Philadelphia versus the Sabres. I have Philly in 6.
I agree, Philly in 6 games.
Now, Boston and Montreal. I'm saying Montreal wins in 7 games.
I agree, Montreal 7 games.
Now for the final Eastern matchup, I said Pittsburgh in 7 games also.
That would be interesting, but I'm going to go Pittsburgh in 6. You got the Western Conference. For the Western Conference, I got Vancouver in a hard-fought 7-game series versus the Chicago Blackhawks.
I'm saying it takes 1 game less for them to win. Vancouver in 6.
San Jose Sharks, Los Angeles Kings. I got the Sharks sweep.
I completely agree with that.
Detroit, Phoenix. I got Detroit in 5 games.
I'm saying 1 more game than that. Detroit in 6, based on last year's matchup.
All right, we got Anaheim, Nashville. I got Anaheim in 5 games with a small possibility of a sweep. What do you got?
I'd say the same thing there. Anaheim in 5.
Those are our predictions for the first round. Who gets out? We'll find out later. We've gone over who we think is going to get out of the first round, but now we go over our Stanley Cup favorites. Number 1, I have the Vancouver Canucks, President's Trophy winner. I think they are going to get out of the West. They're going to be for there. Secondly, I have the Philadelphia Flyers. They led their division, and I think they're going to get out of the East as well. They're my number 2 Stanley Cup favorite. And number 3, I have the Washington Capitals, who also led their division. Getting out of the East is a possibility.
I have the same team, different order. Number 1, Washington Capitals. 2, Vancouver Canucks. And 3, Philadelphia Flyers. I have the Caps winning over the Canucks in 6 games for the Stanley Cup.
All right, I think we have somewhat of a consensus. Vancouver will be getting out of the West, and I have them facing the Philadelphia Flyers out of the East. And I think that's going to take 5 games. Who's going to win it? Not quite sure yet, but it's going to be a battle of 5 games. It's not going to be over quick, but it's not going to be a long fight. That's our show. Now here's our round 1 game 1s. We got Capitals and Rangers Wednesday, April 13th in Verizon Center at 7:30 on Versus and TSN. We have the Flyers and Sabres Thursday, April 14th in Wells Fargo Center, 7:30 TSN Versus. Bruins in Montreal Thursday, April 14th in TD Garden at 7 o'clock on CBC, RDS and Versus. And we have our Penguins and Lightning Wednesday, April 13th in the brand new Consol Energy Center, 7 o'clock on CBC. What we got for the West?
We have Vancouver hosting Chicago Wednesday, April 13th at the Rogers Arena at 10 o'clock on CBSC and Versus. Then we have San Jose hosting Kings Thursday, April 14th, 10 o'clock p.m. at San Jose Shark Tank. Number 3, Detroit hosting 6 Coyotes Wednesday, April 13th, 7 o'clock p.m. CBC and Versus. The Ducks and the Predators meeting up in Anaheim at the Honda Center Wednesday, April 13th, 10:30 p.m. on TSN.
That's our game 1 schedule. The rest of the series